alive.
Does anybody want to know just a cool precursor to Irish uh, history or myth?
Sure.
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 Um, so apparently, the Hyksos in Egypt were like known as the outsiders, Egyptians. Do you guys know all this?
I
Like the
think, yeah, I think I kind of do. Yeah.
Princess of Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
What's the connection between the Hyksos and the who's it you're saying?
Princess of Scotia was like she's like known as like one of the founders of like Scotland and Ireland. And the myth or the legend is that like red-haired people, because like did you ever see on the news like in the last 10 years where it said some people in Europe had like 70% of these people in Europe had a connection to a pharaoh, like DNA wise?
I actually hadn't heard that.
Yeah, but I did look into that, and that was so that whole thing apparently was like those numbers were put out by like a very European centric version of like ancestry.com, where they were also offering people like packages where if men specifically in Europe were to like take tests that they and if they were related to like the I think it was like King Tut or some shit that they would get like a discount or something.
Because that I totally buy that. I will say
Come on.
the anomaly with red hair in Western Europe seems to like be kind of interesting because apparently I don't know much
Oh
about
shit! I gotta get my food.
Egyptian history, but they're saying you know this was a red haired sect of like Egyptian people or something. And that she
Yeah,
took it.
so I think the
Go
idea of
ahead.
that is like so God, this is like such a mess, but it just I don't think it's what a lot of people want it to be, and it there's a lot of like interpretations and a lot of like things that are like attached to uh that sort of thing that I don't think I don't know. It's really complicated. Like I've definitely looked into this, and it's too much to handle sometimes.
Well, just
I
give
don't know
us
if
a
that made any sense,
synopsis.
but basically the idea of it is that like well, it gets into the ancient alien things, and the ancient aliens are usually white people from the north who
Well,
like you
Really?
know yeah, who like were like the overlords, I guess. They were like the I don't know, the like the Nephilim. I don't know, some shit like that. They were like
I think
just
it's
these like
important.
ascended masters.
I think it's important to keep in mind, just the same way as there's people who use, the story of the Anunnaki or the Nephilim, and then they try and fuse that with ancient aliens. It's the same with this concept of like red hair, because there definitely is this like, and again, there's people who aren't white who have red hair. Like the idea that red hair is something that's unique to white people. That's I mean, I think that's mainly a misconception because and
Yeah,
basically the idea that they try and these people who try and use that theory to push whatever agenda, it's to say that essentially the reason why you have this red hair across the world, and especially in opposition to the misconception that it's white people that have red hair. Therefore, if one follows that paradigm or worldview, it must be that the reason why non-white people have red hair is because they're secretly descended from white people, and that's where the issue is. I think.
right. Well, it also
That
gets
sounds like
into an
two different ideas that are getting fused together, though.
well, it turns weird also because there's a lot of like the whole black head thing or the black. It's not necessarily black. I'm sorry, red hair. It's not necessarily red hair. It's red skin and red everything. Like these people are like red. So then it also turns into like the idea that it's possibly people of color. And there's this whole idea of of people painting themselves in red ochre and stuff, and doing like rituals painting themselves in red ochre. And then there's also the idea of
Painting
like the
themselves in red what?
uh
You said red ochre? Red
yeah,
what?
like ochre, like they would paint themselves in red for like different types of rituals. And then also the idea that redheaded people were here in the Americas before anybody is also interesting because there's like you ever seen like the Olmec heads? Like it's like apparently these like giants or whatever that were here before, and they were like the heads of the civilizations over here in the Americas before, you know, colonization started. And sometimes they even say that even before the Native Americans were here.
So actually, kind of tying this to Halloween through mummies. Do y'all know about the Oh, dang. Do y'all know about the cocaine and tobacco mummies of Egypt? Which is
I've
interesting.
heard of the weed ones, but not the cocaine and tobacco ones.
So, I mean, honestly, as much as I love weed, it's not that interesting because
Mm-hmm.
let me read them. Because we know, like literally, the Egyptians had a god named Seshat, and her like there's literally a weed leaf above her head as a symbol, and she's connected with knowledge. So like we know they had weed, but the thing is, why? Because so there's been here actually let me pull up a video on this real quick because just for anyone who doesn't know who's watching this, let's see. It's cocaine mummies. Let me find a quick video on this.
Yeah, cocaine mummies.
Here I found.
There we
Oh,
are.
dang it! I was about to click on a video and then I realized that it was from a pseudo historian, so I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I mean, sometimes you gotta watch those though, because you gotta know what the fuck they're up to.
Oh no, I know, but this one's from. I'm not even going to say his name, even though it's not like I have any real platform. But I don't want to give him any extra traffic. But basically, that it's someone who spreads those exact same ideas that you were just talking about with like not ancient aliens, but essentially ancient Aryans, which is it's so bizarre. It's like they weren't aliens; they were just super advanced white people. It's like no, come on. It's like that's so much less interesting than the truth. Come on.
Well, also Egypt was pretty. I think that if you honestly, I think that these were like multi-ethnic and multinational and like just metropolises where people were coming from everywhere and like bringing their expertise and like trading ideas. That's why they're so.
Remember, like color changed with the diaspora of.
Oh,
Yeah, his internet's really bad. But yeah, I that's kind of what I think. Like I think that this idea of like a pure race just sitting up there and like being everybody the same thing and like not having any ideas come from anywhere else, and that's what made them great, is like non-existent in history at
yeah.
all.
I mean, like you can even see from a biological perspective, diversity is strength, not not this idea of purity. Because purity is like, okay, it's kind of like putting all your eggs in one basket. And what happens when you realize that all those eggs are cracked because they're so pure that they basically can't form right. And I mean that's also kind of the reason why the idea of the Habsburg jaw is even though inbreeding used to be seen as something that was desirable, even like I think this is something that you can also see throughout a bunch of different cultures, throughout
I
Egypt.
don't think so. I have a conspiracy about that, but I don't think so. I
I,
think that they knew that it would fuck them up, and that's why they did it.
how would they know?
Because they weren't dumb. Like these people knew what the fuck they were doing, and they know what they need to do in order to stay healthy and alive. Even back then, I mean, they tried and they tried and they did some things, but I mean, it's been known that inbreeding is not going to help anybody do anything. I think that that idea is fucking stupid, and it's really a political move in order to hoard power rather than like an actual like thought of like supremacy through blood. I think it's mostly just like we're not gonna marry these people off to anybody because we need to hold
Power
like
on.
power. What was that? Was that me?
Yeah,
Did you
but
hear that?
yeah, and I definitely see what you're saying, but I do think there's a key distinction in that, like basically there'd be ways of holding on to power. Like, for instance, you could adopt children, and then you could marry off your child to like your physical child to your adopted child, and therefore you could hold on to power. But the fact that like there definitely seems to be, and whether or not it did start off as a power thing, and then maybe they get this idea, oh well, we're better, and therefore because we're better, we'll have better kids, and we should marry better, and then they find that equaling marrying into their own family. But like the point is, it's something that you see in was it you see it in Scotland, or no, you see it in Ireland, you see it in Egypt, you see it in the stories of the Bible, like Abraham and Sarah are half siblings. You see it. Well, that's like my real area of expertise, but like you have this basic. Well, even just look at the gods and goddesses, like in Greek myth, they're siblings. And I mean, arguably, the idea that everything comes from nothing and that you have like very little at one point, there gets this idea that that little has to, come together to create more of a multiplicity. I mean, that's essentially the idea of, almost every cosmogony. So I don't think it's that surprising that we find people doing that, like mirroring their perceptions of gods and of myth. But anyway, to start the video about the cocaine mummies.
We were told that Christopher Columbus was the first Westerner to discover the Americas. But later, we were proven wrong when we discovered that the Vikings had traveled to the New World in the 10th century. Might we be proven wrong once again? Might this be one story that is far older? Did Egyptians visit the New World? Greetings, mortals, and a capital day to you all. I'm your host, Simon. Welcome back to the Library of Gnosis. In 1992, our history books changed forever. Or at least they should have. In 1992, a highly respected German toxicologist by the name of Svetlana Balab.
Sorry, what?
I said in 1992 I was born and history changed forever.
Oh, nice.
Banova was examining the mummy of an ancient Egyptian priestess by the name of Henut Tawi, who lived in the 10th century BCE. When examining the mummy, Svetlana discovered traces of cocaine, hashish, and nicotine on Henut Tawi's hair, as well as on the hair of 8 other mummies of the museum.
The archaeologists were
which
blown
is
down
significant in that the only source for cocaine and nicotine had been considered to be the coca and tobacco plants native to the Americas, and were not thought to have been present in Africa until after Columbus voyaged to America. Due to the controversial nature of the find, a hair shaft test was done to eliminate the risk of cross-contamination. This test has been used by police to see if the person in question has taken any drugs and what kind.
You can't use that on dead hair. This is not true.
Why can't you use it on dead hair? I mean, doesn't the drug stay in the hair even after death?
Not when the follicle's dead for 1,000 years. That's crazy.
Well, not really, because they found they found residuals of but like if, and that's the thing, if it's preserved, there shouldn't be any reason why not, because you have the same case with like the Telerod find, where they found, even after over 2,000 years, these 2 incense pillars with and they were able to test the incense, and they identified it as residuals from both cannabis and from frankincense. So, I mean, there's no reason why.
You gotta post that in the Discord, or it ain't real. Post the link in the Discord. Post the link in the Discord.
This is also possible. It could be some kind of degradation product. There's a lot of nicotinoid chemical. There's a whole class of alkaloids. It could be that some variety of nightshade, for instance, produces an alkaloid, where like as time passed in the tomb over thousands of years, the bacteria sequentially degraded, and some of it ended up as a side product of cocaine. For nicotine, for instance, could be a nicotinide decay product. I don't know about cocaine, but there are substances like cocaine, like in structure, in like other chemicals like it. So it could just be that a bacteria fermented another compound found in Egypt, and then some herb or whatever got fermented and some of it turned into cocaine.
Turn it into it?
Yeah, it could be a breakdown product.
Yeah, but like they use like gasoline and like all sorts of stuff to like purify it.
Yeah, but tiny traces might be what the traces are. A tiny trace of cocaine produced by fermentation processes.
I think the archaeologists were on this tomb.
No, but they ruled that out because that was the biggest thought.
Especially when it's tobacco together. That's such like that's like two plants from like nowhere near each other. You got the coca plant from like South America. And the tobacco plant, I think that was like from Africa brought to America.
Well, yeah, but what about the hashish as well?
That makes more sense. Hashish makes more sense.
That exists on like almost every continent, right?
No, hashish.
No,
but how did it get to each continent? Generally, probably through the natives. Do you guys believe the Bering? I mean, you guys are Bering Strait believers, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think, obviously, some point it was in Africa. It came all the way across Asia through India, and it's still ceremonially used in religious settings there today. Up through Asia, around the world, and into the Americas, and probably down into South America, with Pangaea. But I think it happened really quick, right? Like, what do we believe about the 7-day theory?
Well, so I mean, like, what I'd look at that is to say that Yom or so Yom in Hebrew, Yom in Arabic, and I don't have enough argument to like say this for certain. But I do have an itching feeling that there might be a connection between the terms Yom Yam and Aeon, because N's and M's are like Na and Ma is usually connected, especially when you're dealing with like a change between languages. So like for instance, there also might be a connection, not directly, but maybe like indirectly. I need to look more into that between the terms Don between the terms Adon in like Semitic and Dom or Dominos in Latin, because they both have contexts of ownership. But in regards to what was it that we were talking about?
I kind of took it a different way. The 7-day theory in regards to man created, and how I guess that there's the coca plant and the tobacco plant that came through the diaspora of man, right? Because people like moved around to get places. They took the herb, but in this case, they took herb, the coca plant, and then tobacco. That's just too hard. Well, I don't know. Some of it could have started in Egypt, and that's a weird way to think of it.
Well, so I mean,
where'd they find the tomb?
I'm guessing in Egypt. But what I think's worth mentioning is that keep in mind, if this was found in Egypt and they found cocaine, which comes from coca, and tobacco, or nicotine, which comes from tobacco, and this is in Egypt, like they're both roughly as far from Egypt. Like if you're going to go as far to get nicotine from from North America, and you're going to go to get coca from South America, like if you're from Egypt, it's roughly basically the argument is if you can get to one area, why not go to the other?
Well, that's what happened. Like like man started in the Middle East, right? And then they spread out.
No, man started in
Nick-
Africa.
Huh?
The first humans came from Central Africa.
Right, but right where it touched, okay, like if you look at Ethiopia all the way up to Egypt, that's where it started. And then it started, into Israel, right in that little hub, the Middle East. So you're talking like Northeast Africa, and then we're talking, parts of like, I guess, Israel to Iran, and what else is in there? Like that little chunk right in between. And then, they moved into to like the Stan countries in India and the Indus Valley, and came up across Asia into Russia, and some went up into Europe, right? But like the point is, it all started there and it just pushed out. But like I think they came, around Alaska. Then there's some that became like Native Americans, and then some just kept going south all the way to the Incas. Or do you think people broke off with Pangea? I don't think that happened.
Wasn't that like millions of years before humanity?
No. See, that's the lie. Like, look at how fast people in little carts moved across North America. How long did that take?
All right, this is one problem. This is one problem with like that theory that the Egyptians made it to North America. There aren't any good currents they could have taken.
Well, they
Anymore?
weren't Egyptians at that point. I'm saying they were a different group of people. So it's probably like North Asians became the first, and there's a lot of similarities, right? If you look at some.
That's the plant wouldn't grow. That's the problem. The climate in northern Russia is too extreme. You wouldn't have been able to get viable seeds out through the Bering Strait because it would have frozen. It took years to make that passage, like all the way from like.
Do you know the best way to keep seeds?
Freezing. But
The longest term method to storing seeds is freezing.
Yeah, but that's like there's a different degree.
That's why the
one
biggest seed vault in the world is in Sweden or something. It's like an
but
emergency.
But there's a difference between different kinds of freezing. For instance, the difference between freezing in like in special storage like that at extremely low temperatures, and just straight up freezing with ice and then leaving it like that. Because over a period of time, ice crystals will form. It'll break apart the structure of the seed. So like the ice.
But they wouldn't just like keep the seeds in a loose bag. They probably kept them on their bodies or like in animal sacks or like pieces of fur. You obviously have to be complex enough to like live in North Asia and be used to cold climate. And this wasn't just like one trip, right? It's just like the same way we talked about people that moved in just a couple hundred years across East Coast to West Coast United States.
Well, yeah, but in terms of Pangea, the idea that all the continents were once one, that like, I mean, when do you think that was? If you're saying that the lie is that it was millions of years ago.
Oh, I think right in that 7 day, like that maybe that 7 day creation period kind of thing. Like I guess there's what day was Adam made? The 7th day?
The 6th.
Okay, so like maybe kind of when stuff they say starts in like Mesopotamia or Sumerian type of situation.
Well, so another thing that I think is worth mentioning though is that back to that idea of the Yom, there's nothing that implies that it actually is like a human day. The idea is that it's a length of time, but the fact that aeon is so close to yom and yam, like the like dropping the a and then you just get yon or yom, and aeon is understood to definitely refer to a length of time, almost like an epoch. And so in that context, I think that's maybe more along how we should understand it, because it's almost kind of like, people tend to think of it like, oh, well, God created the world in 7 days, like, that powerful. But at the same time, isn't it kind of egotistical to want the world to have been created in our time span? Like, it's no less miraculous if it takes 1,000,000 years or if
Well, it's written in the Bible, right?
So there's
One
like one
day.
problem I want to point out there.
What
Like
is, I don't know. It's like the exact thing, but it says one day is like 1,000 years to man.
But again, even in that case, it's not literally saying one day is like 1,000 years. It's being used as metaphor. It's saying that like time.
I would just take it literally.
Well, I mean, even if you take it literally, then you'd have to understand it as 1,000 years, right?
6,000
But
years. That's the
we
reference.
still wouldn't understand years probably in every term.
Guys.
It's hard to say like what his metric of the end is, you know? When you're
There's an issue
talking
with
to
that.
like a being that can't be quantified, it's like how can we thoroughly I mean we obviously think Methuselah was what 969 or something.
Well,
Guys,
so
there's one issue with that.
even with that, it's important to realize that in the ancient world, especially in the Hebrew Bible, there's a lot of symbolism, not just hidden in metaphor, but also in numbers. And so there could be extra meaning to that, and that if people only take it literally, they end up losing more than half of the meaning.
Well, I mean, it goes into pretty detail, right? It's like this guy, like Noah started the ark at 500, and it goes through like right now in this book of Joshua I'm reading, It's like basically it's talking about just real deep dive on Enoch and Seth, and it's like, yeah, when they were 200, people gone to 800, and like they just start mentioning off a ton of names and like ages in the triple digits, and then it was like God did not like this dude. He only made it to 90, and I was like, whoa. It's like didn't say it exactly like that, but I'm only 30 minutes in.
Yeah, but guys, here's the one main issue with that particular interpretation is that it's explicitly stated in the Bible that the days were days. If you look at the book of Genesis 1:5, like first chapter, first verse, first chapter, fifth. I don't know exactly. Chapter 1, 5th verse. Sorry. So the evening and the morning were the first day, and after the second day, it says, "quote So the evening and the morning were the second day." So
actually, sorry. Well, I just realized I was off this whole time. But I don't think that the word is as days for every single like translation. I think it might be eons in the Greek, but I might be wrong. But I think it might be eons, which makes it different because this is like
doesn't
God
eon literally
time.
mean days though? Like, isn't that like literally translated to days in English?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, if
days
they
in
saw the
English, but
sun
it's
go
not
up and
days in
sun go
everything.
down, they knew how to tell time.
On the other hand,
Right,
it could be that the sun moved slower back then. It could be that the sun took 1,000 years to complete one cycle at the beginning of days.
Right,
It could be
but
that God
it's
sped up the sun.
That's what I thought too.
but the idea of eons is like something different, and I think I could be wrong, but I think that it's called eons in the Greek, like in the Septuagint. I really wish our Greek guy was here. Amon was here to
You have a Greek guy?
yeah, he's a trip. We love him though.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I wish he was here to like correct me or something if I'm wrong, but I think it might be eons, which is different because this is like God time.
Also, another thing, if you were to say like, a time such as this, what time are you referring to? When does a time, occur? Is it like a single moment, or like? And I think that's kind of like at the end of the day, it's all about how it's contextually understood. So, and that's part of the reason why it's so hard to get a clear answer on that, is because there really is no clear answer.
I'll settle for that for now. That's fine by me.
Isn't trying to like get a clear answer out of an unclear text, like, isn't that what the Kabbalah is? And basically, the Kabbalists looked at the Torah, Tanakh, and said, "This is really complicated, and there aren't a lot of like clear answers in here." So they kind
You're
of just
talking
went
about
over
the Kabbalah?
Yeah, the Kabbalah. Sorry, I can't pronounce anything in any language.
You had me lost for a minute. I was like, you
The
brought it
Kabbalah,
up.
isn't the Kabbalah basically like supposed to be like an interpretation of? Isn't it basically supposed to be like almost like a deep dive into the Tanakh? Like they're taking the Tanakh and saying, okay, this is the plain text of the Tanakh.
Tanakh, boy.
Tanakh. Okay, I need to learn how to pronounce shit. I've never heard half these words actually spoken, so I just looked at the Wikipedia thing and tried to pronounce it.
Yeah, some kind of. Yeah,
Oh,
you're right. You got to hear him.
Basically, the Tanakh. So basically, the Tanakh contains like the text of Tanakh that's unchanged, right? We all know what that is. Like the scrolls have been around since God knows how long. They've been they found the Dead Sea Scrolls are thousands of years old, and they are effectively absolutely identical, more or less identical, like in the books that we've seen. But like their meaning is clouded, right? So remember, so if I understood this correctly, the Kabbalah was supposed to show the true meaning, right? The Kabbalah is basically saying, okay, this is what this Tanakh says, but this is what the authors actually meant in this particular verse.
So there, and again, there is no one meaning. So there's this tradition. Actually, here, let me pull it up. Where is it? There's this idea of shoot, let me,
Sorry.
70 faces of the Torah. So here, let's see.
I get that. I'm okay with multiple meanings, honestly. I don't need like this clear answer. I get what the point of like this is, you know, like it's fine by me.
All right, here. So let's see. In front can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And from the Sanhedrin.
Well, actually, how do I get my volume? Let me come back. I've been listening to you guys at like quarter the volume.
All right. I'll wait for him to come back. Oh, wow. You know, I just thought about something else. I wonder if there's a connection between the fact that there's 70 faces of the Torah and that there's like 70 nations. Oh, Jacob's here. Hey, welcome, Jacob.
Yo,
Jacob, we meet. Hello.
Wow, the anchor man has a beard. I did not think he would have a beard. I also did not think he would shave his peot like that. Oh my God, you are such a sinner for a Messianic Jew.
I'm that guy.
But yeah, so I forget who it was who. Was it? Oh yeah, Karthik. It was you. So, and from there, the Sanhedrin knew 70 languages, which are the 70 faces or interpretations of the Torah, because they are 70 languages from the side of the evil kingdom. Dang it! Wait. Let's see. Shoot, yeah, I don't know enough Aramaic to translate it, but where is it? From of the eight.
Do it.
Sure.
Go up. Or I could pull it up, I guess. Where is it? Suresh Katana Havu the Aharon Elihu. No. Moshe. This is talking about Moses and Aaron.
so isn't it? I guess I thought it was, I guess, but like, isn't it really cool how people can like people who speak modern Hebrew today can still understand what was written in the original Tanakh? Like, despite how long it's been.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly right. Oh, okay. The Inun Shivin Panim LaTorah, the It Shivin Lashon Misitra de Malchut Harasha. There are 70 languages from the Sitra of Malchut Harasha, the evil kingdom. Yeah. The Kola Befuruda, all of it's in separation. Hadahu dichtiv, and this is what it says: Mi'ila nifredu iye hagoyim ba'artzotam u'shonam kulhu shivin lashon befaruda da minda. So that's what the Dor Haflaga is, the generation of dispersion at the Tower of Babel.
Interesting. So there is a connection between the 70 nations and the 70 faces of the Torah then.
So in that
Well,
case,
yeah, I mean, the next one says Aval Boraita, but in the law, in the Torah, Shivim Panim LaTorah, 70 faces of the Torah, Beloshon Chad is in one language. Veda Yesod, and that is the secret of Shiva Halacha Chad. 6 are make for one halacha. Chochma Zeira Malchut. Wisdom is small kingship. The Va Shivin Lashon that has 7 languages or 70 languages in it. Kechushban Sod, which is the same number as secret, the 60 plus 6 plus 4. Min Yesod, that comes from foundation. V'yesod ihu lashon hakodesh, and foundation is Hebrew. Sod hamerkava, which is the secret of the chariot. B'shivin katedrain, in the 70 katedrain. What are katedrain?
Let's see. Wait.
guys,
Where did it
this is
go?
the thing I didn't get. This is the thing I don't really understand about like the whole like 70 faces of Torah. And it's like all of them are valid. That's the thing I don't understand really. It's like, didn't God have a single purpose by giving the Tanakh to humanity?
Yes, but so this is the problem of the one and the many, and in fact, 70 in Hebrew is a question of rabim. So this is what we talk about: the one and the many, the one and the many, right? So you know the problem of the one and the many. You've heard of it. Okay. So the problem of the one and the many may be the fundamental problem of all philosophy. And I'm not talking like Jewish wise. This may be the problem of entirety of philosophy. In fact, Ariel, you want to pull up the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, One and Many?
Sure. Give me one moment. Let's see. Duplicate that. Stanford. What?
Encyclopedia of Philosophy, One and the Many.
The problem of the many, is it?
Yeah.
Can you open that up a little more, Zoom? I just have a small screen.
Sorry, what?
Keep zooming.
You're really quiet.
Keep zooming. Is that better? I just refresh the mic.
I wish there was a way to like manually change it, but I'm not sure. So where is it you want me to go, Jacob?
So if you want, go ahead and just read the very beginning at the top.
Okay. First published Thursday, January 9th of 2003, and then it was revised Sunday, December 14th, 2014. As anyone who has flown out of a cloud knows, the boundaries of a cloud are a lot less sharp up close than they appear on the ground. Even when it seems clearly true that there is one sharply bounded cloud up there, really there are thousands of water droplets that are neither determinantly part of the cloud nor determinantly outside it. Consider any object that consists of the core of the cloud plus an arbitrary selection of these droplets. It will look like a cloud, and circumstances permitting rain like a cloud, and generally has as good a claim to be a cloud as any object in that part of the sky. But we cannot say every such object is a cloud. Else there would be millions of clouds where it seemed like there was one, and what holds for clouds holds for anything whose boundaries look less clear the closer you look at it. And that includes just about every kind of object we normally think about, including humans. Although this seems to be merely a merely technical puzzle, even a triviality, a surprising range of proposed solutions has emerged, many of them mutually inconsistent. It is not even settled whether a solution should come from metaphysics or from philosophy of language or from logic. Here we survey the options and provide several links to the many topics related to the problem. So is it almost like it almost seems kind of related to the idea or like that's seen as heretical, but like by some people, like the reason why some people think that Kabbalah is heretical is because they're like, oh, but you're breaking God into different parts, and it's like, no, it's not breaking God into parts. It's viewing him with different lenses, because it's through different lenses that God manifests, God.
The problem of the one and the many is the fundamental problem of theology. It ultimately becomes the reasoning behind the Trinity. It is why people will say that Kabbalism believes in 10 gods. It is why cognitive science is having such a problem getting a programming something that can act with human intelligence, because the whole question of, okay, where does this cup become a cup, right? What are the boundaries of this cup, right? Or anything. And this goes back to Plato and the idea of universals as opposed to hypostases, right? This is the fundamental problem of philosophy, of theology, of metaphysics. It goes through the entirety of what it means to actually think as a human being. And that's why John Vervaeke, who in my corner of the internet, not so much your corner of the internet, is kind of like the godfather of all thought, is so important, and what he talks about is so important. Okay?
Yeah,
so,
but like,
yeah.
So I was thinking in that case, like, wouldn't they answer that question be okay, so I'm an atheist myself, and I'm interested in theology. But okay, let's say God is an axiom. God exists. God is as the Bible describes, right? Let's take that as an axiom. Then the problem goes away. The answer to the question is like, what is the boundary of a cloud? Whatever God has defined the boundaries of a cloud to be. What are the boundaries of a man? The soul of a human being as determined by God in the conditions God decides. So God has answered those questions.
Well, in a sense, yes. But God, the one, has created the many, right? And the question becomes, what are the combinations of the many? How does the many, and how does the one God, present himself among the many? How is God present in this created world? And in what aspects does, for example, this cup, or me as a human being, or you as a human being, or some other human being, in fact manifest godliness, right? So the boundaries of God become a manifest part of this question of the one and the many. And that's why you end up with Christians like having the hypostatic union of the three hypostases of God, right? And in fact, this is why an atheistic view, and this goes into Jordan Peterson's whole thing of there is no such thing as atheists, because in order to think, in order to function, you must have some belief in the fact that whatever you do, in fact, has some form of coherence to it, right? You can't pick up a cup if you don't believe there's a cup there, right? So in order for you to pick up a cup, you have to actually believe that there exists a cup.
Yeah,
and that in essence means you may be a non-theist in terms of talking about an agentic God, but the Irenic God, the God as in the God that tells you that you can actually do things in the world, that has to exist.
Yeah, and that's the view I generally hold of God. I guess atheism isn't really the right word for describe me. I guess I could believe in a God. Like I could like the way I would see God. If I had to define a God, like a God I could believe in, I would define said God as being divine logic. I could imagine a God as eternal law, which orders that is the law that underrides reality itself, around which all other laws are derived. The self-proving axiom, the universal axiom which cannot be refuted.
So
Please.
this is in fact the basics of the Kalam cosmological argument, and why you have to at least believe in the Irenic God. Now, what's Hebrew theism, Abrahamic theism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and related religions bring into the world is something which is completely novel, which is the idea that this Irenic God divinity which must exist, in fact, there is an agentic component to the Irenic God. And that itself is the world-shattering concept of the Hebrew God.
Yeah, that's a God that's both universal and personal. That a personal God can be universal. But in that sense, that also isn't that I think in Kabbalah, isn't that the idea of Ein Sof, where God's fundamental form, his true form, is indeterminate. That the true form of God is not human, is not personal, is sort of like a universal source, you think almost like an emanation, the sun from which all light shines from. But the sun isn't the light. So you could view God in that case as being in the form. God might take the form of a man to appear to someone. I think he appeared to Jacob as an angel, right? As like a man-shaped angel with wings, I'm pretty sure in the original. And then he wrestled him. But that isn't God. That is God that is of God's essence, but that isn't the entirety of God. The human
It is
form
a hypostasis of God. Now, I have to ask you, Ariel, where is this being broadcast? How many people are watching? And why aren't I giving this on my own channel where like at least a dozen people would watch?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'd be down to do it on your channel. We're just doing it here because nothing else was going on.
Okay, so I am going to go start a stream on my channel because this is an interesting conversation. But if like it's only the 5 of us, I would rather have like a dozen people on my channel watch.
No, I totally get it. I'm down.
Okay, I will see you in a little bit.
All right. I'll send you the link, Karthik, and I'll see you, Mateus, if you want.
Wait, are you guys
Okay.
wait, you guys are all friends? Like you know like an actual famous YouTuber?
I mean, like,
No.
I don't actually know how big he is, but I mean, in terms of like knowing a famous YouTuber, I know Neil Sunlack from Gnostic Informant, and like I mean, I didn't know him before. It was just because like I ended up connecting with him over some of my scholarship. Same with Amon.
Yeah, Amon is great. I wish you were online.
Yeah. So let's see.
I have a fair bit more time, but like eventually I'm gonna have to get off to go do my engineering project. I'm a week behind. I had an entire fucking design. It's a beautiful design. It had a special pulley belt with chain on it, so like for the sprocket to run. It was a suspended car shaped like a bullet with an internal clip that has padding for each passenger's armored. It has multiple wires that has positive and negative transmission. Give me $400, 4 months, and 8 people. I would have made a beautiful design. Well, he just like Karthik, your idea has already consumed $72 of the $80 budget. You have no way to build it. You have a month and a half left. It's not happening. And then eventually, like I had to scrap the design. It took like a month to make because like literally we don't have the people, the money. Like $72, the fundamental basic design with nothing breaking, and that's even like half the details not even decided, is $72. We have $80 total for our budget. We can't go over that.
Wow.
Go to Staples, I guess.
Oh,
No, but,
nice.
like literally, the budget in this case is the teacher imposed budget. The teacher's like, okay, you have 80 virtual dollars. You can spend on stuff in the classroom. You can 3D print stuff for a certain price, or you can bring things in from outside, and I'll give you a price and charge that to your virtual money. But you can't extend your budget. With $80, you're done. If you hit, like say if I have a $80 design, it's moving, gets hit by a truck. Done. You're out of the project. You're done. All your money's gone. You can't rebuild.
All right, so I just posted the link to Jacob's stream.
Let's see. Wait, how do I access the thing?
It's in the comments.
All right, and also, how do we have a conversation with someone like on a stream?
So it's the same way as this. Basically, it's also through Streamlabs.
All right, let's see if I can figure
So
that out.
so if you click on that video, there's going to be a link in the YouTube, like or in the comments. It'll be pinned, and it'll say like StreamYard or whatever. Just click on that, and you'll be able to join.
Put it in the.
All right. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Let's see, I'm still here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to get this into work. How do I join stream? Oh, here it is, StreamYard. Yeah.
Yeah, you see the. Okay. So I'm going to go and end the stream now, and then I'll see you all over there.
All right. See ya.